our market right now is headed in the right direction with or without lower interest rates. When it comes to an item that I think is just like no longer pertains to the real estate world as a whole, I think I'm going to say that the relational agent is way more high performing than the agent who is solely focused on any type of lead generation they could find.
Welcome back to Nevada Realtors Today, your place for timely updates on the news and trends that matter to realtors in the Silver State. Featuring your host, 2026 President Sarah Scatini and CEO Tiffany Banks of Nevada Realtors. Now let's jump into today's episode of Nevada Realtors Today.
Good morning, everyone. We're so excited to be joined by this amazing human today. We have Trey with us, who's a senior real estate operator, growth strategist, and executive leader with deep experience across multifamily investment, property management, brokerage, and luxury real estate platforms. Welcome, Trey.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. Can you tell us a little bit more? I know I read a short bit of your bio, but you are what I consider just a real estate rock star, really a legend in a lot of these spaces. Can you touch on your work with Arrow Capital and like just where you've come from and what you care about, what you're working on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had a humble beginning in real estate as just a low level personal investor, house flipper, turned high transaction real estate agent, and then turned broker owner. So, that path is sort of what led me to jump into the multifamily space and meet some incredible people along the way. So currently with Arrow Capital, I oversee their growth. We're at about $500 million worth of assets across 6 Midwest states. We have everything you could think of from A plus properties all the way down to DC and F properties. So some value add properties there. And really, I'm responsible for all things that are either acquisitions, dispositions within the portfolio, and of course, expanding our reach beyond those 6 states that we're in right now. So super excited about what we're doing there right now. We have a ground floor A plus property build up that we've been working on as of recent, as well as a ton of acquisitions after the market has been somewhat flooded from all of the arms that are expiring from all of our investors who invested in multifamily assets during COVID. So, yeah, so that's a little bit about what I do over at Arrow Capital. In addition to that, and sort of in conjunction with that, I also consult with Epic Realty, and I'm helping them architect their luxury division, Epic Estates.
Very exciting. And, when you think about working with both the institutional level and directly with agents, when you look at a real estate agent right now, what do you think professionals most misunderstand about where the industry is actually headed?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of interesting information out there at the moment.
Hmm.
And I think that we're really quick to react to market conditions
Hmm.
and shifting economies, of course, right? As well as shifting political landscape. But what I will say is it has been a tough few years for agents in comparison to the previous years, which
Hmm.
was just a flood of low interest rates due to COVID, right? And everybody buying houses and everybody coming to this stark realization that I had to spend a year at home in this house. This is not where I want to be, right? Or
Hmm.
I want a bigger house, or I want a better finished basement, or whatever it may have been. So it's just been really unique, and I think our market has really truly evolved away from what it ever has been in the past. So I think it's hard to say the true trajectory of our market, but what I will say is I think our market right now is headed in the right direction, with or without lower interest rates.
Hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think that people are, um, if you got to buy or sell, right? I mean, people are always on the move and people always need housing. They always need a roof over their head. So, in any market, if you got to do it, it's like just jump off the fence and get in the game, right?
You can refinance later,
Yeah.
especially if you find your dream home now.
Exactly. And I love all the stats that people put out showing what interest rates have been over the
Mhm.
past 3 or 4 decades,
Right.
outside of COVID, which is an anomaly
Mhm.
overall, right? We're sitting at
Totally.
one of the lowest interest rates we've had in, 3 or 4 decades. Like our parents never
Mhm.
had the opportunity to see this, and everybody still bought, right?
Mhm.
Now, granted, price points were a little bit different back then, and
Mhm.
salaries were a little bit different back then, and
Mm.
everything was a little bit different from a cost perspective. Of course, inflation was different as well. But with that being said, like you guys said, some people don't have a choice. They have to buy, they have to sell, and life goes on. And I think it's going to be the agents who are actively invested in real estate as a full-time role who are always going to do the best.
Mm. I think we hear about that all the time, right? The part-time agent versus the full-time agent. And some agents feel like I have to have another job so that I can survive in real estate. Where then you hear the opposite from what you're saying. If you just focus on this full time, like what you will be like.
Yeah, absolutely. Real
I
estate is
know.
also very relational based, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
so what I see is a really incredible, I guess you could say, like real estate trap that early agents sort of get sucked into, which is like this chasing after leads and lead generation, and instead of focusing on all the relationships that they
Mm.
have in their current sphere and all the relationships that they could build utilizing their current sphere. And I really feel like the relational agent is way more high performing than the agent who is solely focused on any type of lead generation they could find.
Mm.
Agreed. I remember actually, so I've been in the industry for 21 years, and I remember when I first got in, because it was I got in like '05, '04, '05, and then licensed in '06. And so I remember, getting in there and thinking, oh well, what can I do? I guess maybe if I just work at Starbucks from like 5 o'clock in the morning till 9, and then I can go in and do real estate all, and throw myself into real estate all day and the rest of the day, then maybe I could do that. But really, I ended up I never did a second job. I threw myself into real estate full time, and then actually I got in and I had like one good year, and then the market crashed. We went into short sales and foreclosures, and that's the market I grew up in. And now and I really worked hard on my sphere and building those relationships and not being transactional. So,
Mm.
to build those relationships and be able to, and here I am, 21 years later, and I still have those relationships, and I have done many transactions with, multiple transactions with those people over the years. And when you're thinking anything real estate, you're thinking me, and I will help you. And if I don't have the answer right away, that I'll find you the answer. I'll get you what you need. And
Mhm.
so my goal was to be your real estate consultant for life. I want to build that relationship with you, and help you in whichever way you need along the way.
Mhm. I think that's yeah, and you're still a baby, 21 years. I can't believe you've been doing it that long. A word we hear often is scaling. Like you think about how do I scale a team? How do I scale myself? And Trey, before anyone even thinks about that, what systems or disciplines have to be in place?
Yeah, I think your back end has to be on point. Like
Mm.
you have to know that your business could run itself if you weren't there
Mhm.
tomorrow. And I
Mhm.
think that's what a lot of agents who are thinking about scale possibly lack, right? And,
Mm.
and it's why a lot of agents actually go to really great outfits like Side or Place that they
Mhm.
pretty much build out the back end for you so that you don't have to manage it, you don't have to think about it, and it gives you the ability to scale a little bit better. So those are some great avenues for somebody who maybe doesn't have their back end,
Mhm.
completely in place. They're willing to give up a little bit of their commissions in order to just have somebody who runs that for them. But Yeah, there has to be a critical amount of systems you already have set in place that's going to help provide resources for your agents as you scale. Because the more
Mhm.
agents you get, the more needs they're going to have, and the more wants and asks that they're going to have of you. So I think knowing, okay, what does scale look like for me? How do
Mhm.
I currently do my job, right? Could
Mhm.
I manage to do this many more transactions this year? Could I help another agent to complete this many more transactions this year? What's that going to take off of my plate, right? In order to give
Mm.
them the time that they're going to need.
Mhm.
So yeah, systems is probably the biggest thing that I
Hmm.
would think of as you're looking to scale.
And so when you talk about those different platforms, how do you get familiar? Like if you're an agent that's like, I don't know where to start, like where to if my broker doesn't mentor me in that way, like what do you recommend as far as like just getting your hands and figuring out what works best for you?
Yeah, I recommend this to everybody, but get a coach. And it doesn't
Mm.
have to be like this huge, like I got to pay $1,000 a
Yeah.
month to have a coach, but like it could really just start with being like a true mentor.
Mhm.
But you really want to lean on somebody who you have seen is successful, right?
Mm.
And somebody who also is willing and has the time to commit to having coffee, every
Mhm.
other week with you, and really just being able to bounce ideas off of them. They're going to be your biggest resource, to be honest
Mhm.
with you,
Mhm.
because they're going to have really great, honest conversations with you. They'll give you their perspective, and they probably have a few, because if they are really successful, they've definitely hit some bumps in the road, and they definitely experienced some platforms and systems that just weren't for their particular business. So
Mhm.
what I always tell agents is the first thing you want to do is find a mentor slash coach. If that means you do have to end up paying for a coach because you know nobody in the business, like that's okay. And you can start at a baseline that's comfortable for you. But a coach is everything. If you talk with some of the best agents around, they all had coaches, or they all
Mhm.
felt like they really elevated their business when they found a coach that they could bounce ideas off of, that they could walk through their ideas with. So that's
Mhm.
probably the biggest thing that I would do if you're an aspiring agent and you really want to grow a great business and you want to learn from people who've already been there and done that.
Mm. Love it.
And Trey, I know you've seen growth across multiple states and large portfolios. What's the difference between growth that's truly sustainable and the growth that just kind of looks good on paper?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm on two ends of it, right? So with Arrow, our growth is we're growing assets, right? And we're growing an investor base. So growth there looks a little bit different because we have to have investors who are ready and willing to put forth the funds in order to
Mhm.
grow our assets, right? And so that's on one end of things. And of course, we're looking, like you said, we're trying to be intentional with our growth. And so our goal there is how high is our IRR for our investors, right? What are our current numbers that we're providing as far as money that's going back to our investors on these assets? And then what does that like 10-year pro forma look like for us as a whole? And so we're really intentional with Arrow on how we grow it and what it looks like to our investors and what investors we bring in to help grow it, right? Because we're lucky we could be very picky about who we want on board, but we definitely do not necessarily want to bring the wrong investor in who's going to tell us everything that they know, but everything that we need to do in order to, properly and appropriately acquire the asset, manage the asset, so on and so forth. Now, on
Mhm.
the other side, with Epic Realty, growth is different when you're talking not about assets, but you're talking about agents, right? And we've seen it across the entire industry. You can grow and you can be, really big, and that is wonderful. But two questions that come with your growth is: are the agents you're bringing on actually transacting? Number one, right? And number two, what's your burn rate, right? How many
Mm.
agents come on? How quickly do they onboard? How quickly do they offboard? And so I think there's an intentional piece there as well, and like in trying to find a fit rather than just numbers. What I've loved about working with the C-suite at Epic is that they're really have positioned themselves to not be like true recruiters or attractors.
Hmm.
They want to be a brokerage where they say, this is us. And it doesn't matter if we grow by one more agent in the next 10
Mm-hmm.
years, as long as we can provide our current agents all the benefits, tools, and resources that we feel like are valuable to them, then great. So that's
Mm-hmm.
been a really unique dynamic because the C suite is not super focused on growing. But interestingly enough, all of the agents are very interested in
Hmm.
growing, right? So we see this push and pull because we see agents who just want growth for growth's sake. And then we
Mm-hmm.
see the C-suite make decisions that would really go against just growth for growth's sake. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fine balance when you get to the brokerage level, what growth looks like. You just have
Hmm.
to be really intentional, I feel like, with who you want to be a part of your brokerage and how you position yourself.
Hmm. I skipped ahead a bunch of the questions, Sarah, and my next question was going to be, but I think you might have answered this. For leaders listening, what's one question they should be asking their teams that they probably aren't?
Get in with them and get what their goals are, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and building a culture as well of like people that want it, like also I think bringing fun into the game. You know, like it doesn't have to be all serious all the time. And we have our role as a realtor to you know, help our clients and our teams and our agents if we're, you know, building a brokerage and looking to grow, but also having fun with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and building like the culture that you would people want to come into and grow with. And it's like, yeah, this I and we like this could work for me and I want to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I like walking into this office, and like for instance, I know, you know, with Nevada Realtors and what you've created in your office here at Nevada Realtors as a whole new culture, and people are here and using our facility and being a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, and but you've set the people in place that can help grow and be there and supportive. So being supportive to your agents, growing that culture, having fun, and you know, and being the place of where people want to be and feel comfortable in going, and you know, accepting, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't get a cold feeling when you walk in some places. You just, you're like, "Ooh, this is not my jam." You know.
And I
And then
like,
there's other and then, you know, there's the place that you walk into and you're like, these are my people. I can
mm-hmm.
absolutely be a part of this. I would love to be a part of this. And how can I be a part of this?
Mhm. And I like what you said also, Trey, about not just growing for growth's sake, but actually being
Yeah.
intentional. And I think that's a lot of what you just talked about, that intentional culture, that intentional shift, whatever that looks like, isn't just to make it bigger and better, but like how are you actually like moving the needle with some of these
Yeah.
things?
If I
Uh,
can piggyback on what she was saying, I spent 15 years before I got into real estate coaching
Hmm.
college athletics.
Hmm.
And so I'm really familiar with teams and team dynamics.
Hmm.
And culture is such a unique thing because people talk about culture all the time. And I love when people talk about culture because it is so impactful when you're talking about people who are following you as a leader.
Mhm.
And culture evolves and moves. It's like not stagnant, right?
Mhm.
And it evolves every day with everything you say and everything you do
Mm.
as a leader. It's
Hmm.
really hard to just say, this is what I want my culture to be, and so be it.
Mhm. You're
Right?
Yeah.
It's
right.
Right.
like the
You have to
culture
live
completely
it.
You
revolves
got to
around
live
the
it. Yeah.
leader. Yeah.
That's a really
So,
Yeah.
good point.
anyways, so uniquely, and what I love about this group and being here with you today, Tiffany, is that when I went out to the event last year for Envision, and I got to witness and take part in the culture that you've built with your team, I was immediately like, sign me up. Do you got a job opening? Or like, how can I be a part of this culture? But I just love the fact that everybody on your team plays a really big part in what your vision is. And nothing
Mhm.
has to be said in order for them to play that part, right?
Mhm.
And everybody was so warm and so welcoming. And you could just feel what the culture was.
Mhm.
And that is contagious, right?
Mhm.
When you have somebody from a complete outsider's perspective and they
Yeah.
walk in and they're like, I'll do whatever I can. Can I be part of this team
I
too? Can I be
love
part of
that.
this
Yeah.
They
culture? Right?
loved you,
Like,
and everybody was like, "Where's more Trey?" But what I also noticed about someone like you is your presence. Obviously, like you coming in to Nevada to pour into our audience, and you're just like, "Sign me up, I'm there." And then once you were there, I loved how present you were with every single one of our staff, like every all of the other speakers, the part like the audience, like you were engaged. Like you weren't
Yeah.
like I'm on my phone, I'm off here. I love that. And if anything, like, when I reached out about this year, you're like, okay, I'm ready, just more time. And I think that that is a testament to like that to me is like winning the lottery of like people, like who can we pour into, but who can like be here to support us. And you're like a perfect testament also of what we witnessed with someone like you that you could have come in and out and done your thing and left, but you stayed and you immersed yourself. And that like actually really like to me says everything. So thank you
yeah,
for that.
of course, a direct result of how welcoming the
Okay,
culture
good.
was.
That makes us feel great.
Yes.
So when you look ahead over the next 5 years, what skills or traits do you think will define the most relevant and resilient real estate professionals?
That's a great question. And I think technology is going to play a key role in that, but I don't think necessarily um, success is going to be based on the most technologically savvy
Hmm.
agent. I think it's just going to be the agent who understands the role that technology will be played, especially when it comes to like what the consumer's expectations are going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things are evolving to the point where our clients are expecting different things. First and foremost, I closed on a house recently, and my wife and I are like, yeah, we'd like to just remote close, please.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even want to go to the closing table. And they're
Right.
like, yeah, well, I mean, could you please come in? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I could foresee that being like a thing of the past. Like, no,
Mm.
everybody just is going to sign on their phone and be like, great, who's going to give me the
Mm-hmm.
keys though? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
and that's just one of of a few nuances that I think are really going to change over the next few years. And they're going to change dramatically with the level of AI that's being introduced into our industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be one thing. I think also really the ability to pivot with our industry as tech starts to play a much more serious role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tech, you can have an AI assistant pretty much qualify a client right now
Mm-hmm.
and do everything but actually show them the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very transactional. But we will not move that direction from real estate as a whole. It's still
Mm-hmm.
so relationship based and it's still so localized.
Mm-hmm.
So, you as the agent are going to have to prove your worth as the expert in your area, in your specific niche, if you have one, right? And you're going to get more time if you learn how to leverage technology to spend with those clients,
Mm-hmm.
engaging with them, right? And being their advisor, which is really what they want. So
Mhm,
I think in the next 5 years, that's really what it's going to look like. It's going
mhm,
to be this really nice give and take between how much technology is flowing in, how I'm going to leverage and learn how to work alongside it and utilize it to the best of
mhm,
my abilities so that I can do what I do best, which is advise my clients, right?
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it so well, keeping the real estate agent, the realtor at the center of the transaction, because you're not going to be able to replace that and them, but have all these other tech to augment, you know, their services. And I think as long as they know they don't have to be the most technologically advanced or savvy, they can learn and use some of the tools. I think that will make, again, a lot of agents feel like anything is possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
being able to adapt, right? And
Mhm.
just kind of roll with it. But again, there's so many people that are I've heard in the past I don't know, I'm going to say year, that the AI is taking over and, these bots are going to be able to do your job and everything. It's like, no, like there's still human connection. Like, and we have to have that in order to best serve our people and be in in our realtor realm of which we are. And so I think being able to adapt and roll with it, and then, and just, like you said, incorporate it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not, I don't think that I'm not worried about it, the realtor going away. I know that I'm still going to be around in 5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to help the hundreds of people that I've helped along the way over my years. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more with you with that, Trey. Also, Trey, you talk a lot about aligning incentives across stakeholders. Where do you most often see misalignment in the real estate organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most common misalignment is when there's been an incredible amount of growth in a short period of time. And during that process, we miss the entire point of what some of those incentives
Mm-hmm.
are and were, right? But also, it separates us and detaches a little bit from the person we're trying to help the most, which is just that individual agent. you know, we have all
Mm-hmm.
these systems and processes, and like, let's give you all of this stuff. You have these many resources and these many tools, and like, here you go. And what we've seen notoriously over all sorts of studies with agents is that adoption is the single hardest thing to get from a real estate agent. And that's because I'm an agent. I
Mm-hmm.
come to a new brokerage, right? And I have now a menu of items to choose from to utilize in any sort of like, transaction, in just any function of my business. Now, where do I even start? What do I
Totally.
do? And so then we've had to completely build out full on LMSs, right? Learning management systems, just to teach our agents how to utilize our own tools, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that everybody's on the same page. So I think it's a little bit unique because the goal here with incentives is like the greater good. You want to be able to
Mm-hmm.
provide as much as possible. At the same time, we're getting caught in this point of like we have so many resources that what does it actually look like or
Overwhelming.
feel like to the agent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
I use? I have three
Mm-hmm.
options for every single tool that I could utilize in my business. Which one do I use? How do I use it? Like, what are the true pros and cons? You pretty much need a study guide for all the incentives that are being offered, which is a good thing to have. But if you're a brand new agent or if you're an agent who is transitioning, it
Mm-hmm.
could be a really hard thing to work with.
Mm-hmm. So if we just rapid fire a few questions at you, what's one outdated real estate belief that you'd retire immediately?
Oh, man. That's a really, really good question. I come from Colorado. Okay,
Mhm.
I live here in the Denver metro area, just south of Denver, actually. And
We're going to be there in
there's,
a couple months.
I
We
cannot
are
wait.
May 19th. Mark your calendar.
I
Yeah.
will. I'll put it on there. Oh,
Okay.
that's so amazing. But so I would be remiss if I left out. There's this incredible book called Ninja Selling, and the group who made this book are from the Fort Collins area. And the entire book, while it sounds interesting from the title perspective, it's all about the relationships that you build utilizing your own sphere. And the relationships you build in like very normal everyday things, like relationships I build with some of the soccer parents at my kids' soccer game,
Mhm.
right? And just identifying everybody who is going to be touched by you in some way, shape, or form, and how to move forward with them as a clientele base rather than
Mm.
just like jumping on and being like 6K a month to Zillow leads, please, like that
Mm.
type of situation. So when it comes, so I'm old school. I love the book. If you haven't read the book, like you just have to, because it's just going to change your entire
Mhm.
perspective when you see how you can just converse your way into building a great relationship, right? And being intentional about it.
Hmm.
I think when it come like circling back to your question, when it comes to an item that I think is just like no longer pertains to the real estate world as a whole, I think I'm going to say that I think this idea that I can jump into real estate because my friends did it and they were able to sell a few houses.
Mhm.
And that should
Stinky.
make me a good real estate agent because right? Or this thought process of like, I have lots of friends and they could all easily be people who I can help buy and sell.
Mhm.
And I think really overall, it's like this overarching theme that real estate is a really good side hustle,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
And because it's not,
mhm.
No,
right? Like
no,
yeah, it's pretty
it's
tough. And
not easy.
exactly. And the number of
Yeah,
people I've met recently who honestly have said, and I've heard them say out loud, like, I would much rather work with somebody who's not my good friend when it comes
Yeah.
to a real estate transaction. And I'm just
Mhm.
like baffled by that. I'm like, really? Tell me why. I'm so
Mhm.
interested to learn, And
Hmm.
there's a plethora of reasons, but it's just yeah, that I think that's probably the biggest thing. No
And
side
it's
hustle
hard
for real estate.
and it is hard to choose if all of your friends are realtors. Also, you're like, somebody's gonna feel really bad, but you love everybody, but you're like, I don't know. So that's hard.
it's so true.
Exactly.
And the average person, they say that the average person knows 11 realtors um,
Wow.
around, and so it's like, how do you stand out and be that
Mm.
one of 11 to
Mhm.
choose from, or and like what can you do as a realtor to stand out amongst the rest,
Mhm.
and have people choose you? And there's and it's different levels for different people, right? And
Mhm.
so I think it's important to stand out and show your value. This is where we're going to come in and show our value and show what we do
Mhm.
and how we work and
Mhm.
roll and all the things. And
And the
so
takeaway, be out there, right? Like, I think, again, not just relying on the people that you know that are closest to you, but just be out there at the coffee shop, like the soccer field, the gym, wherever it is. And I actually love that takeaway.
and Trey, what advice would you give to realtors who feel the pressure to do everything just to stay competitive?
Mm, I like
Yeah,
this one.
stop and do nothing at first. What I love to do is I always love to say, like, hey, there's everybody has to and wants to build out a really nice tech stack, which is going to help them, right? And it's going to help them be able to alleviate a little bit off their plate and at the same time leverage the appropriate tools and resources in order to help their business. But the next best thing is always on the horizon, right? Right now, everybody in prop tech and real estate is at Inman, New York.
Mhm.
And that's all they're talking about. And every year there's two Inmans. At every Inman, there's a new prop tech company coming out with the
Mhm.
new latest and greatest thing, right? And what I would say is take a step back and let's watch and let's learn, right? Because the really great ideas,
Mm.
they're going to
Mhm.
thrive in the long term. And you're going to be able to watch some of your competitors and some of your friends in the industry as they try to utilize the tool. And what I always say is like, um, there's like a saying in business as a whole, and it is you are slow to hire but quick to fire, right? And
Totally.
I think
Mm.
that that is the exact same thing you need to be here when it comes to your business. Like, be
Hmm.
slow to add on all of these great things that are being sold to you, and a lot of them are actually great things and pan out to be wonderful platforms that you can utilize to help you excel in your business. But is it right for you? Like, you won't really truly know until you have the opportunity to get an outsider's perspective of what other people are
Mhm.
doing, how they're using it, all that good stuff. So be slow
Hmm.
to adopt new tools. Be quick to ditch the ones that don't work, though.
Love
Uh,
it. That's great advice.
that is great advice. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then Sarah's gonna ask one more question. What do you think is one thing agents should stop outsourcing too early?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think it's going to be like the um, executive assistant, like
Mm.
that personal assistant, executive assistant role.
Mhm.
I think we've seen it outsourced a lot to all different
Mhm.
countries. We've seen it
Right.
outsourced to AI and like, hey,
Mm.
ChatGPT is a great companion, right? Claude is a great companion. I'm sure everybody here on this call uses it on the
Mhm.
daily, and that's wonderful. But you can't replace a true thought partner, and that's what really a
Mm.
really good personal assistant and executive assistant is. It's somebody who understands you, knows how you think, and it's
Mm.
somebody who helps you along the way, right? And
Mhm.
somebody who can what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody who can like proactively approach a situation based on how well they know you. AI
Mm.
cannot do that right now.
Yeah, I
You
love
know?
that. Someone you can bounce ideas off of, like have another
Yes.
thought leader. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And most people see it right now, especially when we outsource to, assistants in different countries and stuff.
Mm,
You're really getting like a yes man or woman in that
okay.
situation. They're there to work for you. What would you like
Mm,
me to do? Let's do it. It's really
mm,
hard to get their perspective. They're not local. They don't see your business inside and out every day. They just see your back
hmm,
end, really, you know? So
hmm.
that's what I would say.
I love that one.
Me
Sarah?
too. Um, Trey, what's one operational change agents and brokers could make this year that would immediately improve their efficiency or client experience?
Automation. 100% through and through automation. If you're not utilizing any tools to automate your business, you absolutely should, because there are just so many things that fall through the cracks. And automation could be everything from follow up to gifting to, I mean, anything and everything you can think of that completes your tech stack. Automation
Mhm.
is the key thing. So a lot of people have different platforms they're using, all of them talk to each other in one way or another, but do they then deploy a series of
Mm,
action items that have to get done or need to get done or workflows that have to happen in order to just make sure that the experience for your client
mhm,
is truly impeccable, and that's what you want. And a lot of people are missing that single part, and to me it's just like the single most important thing you can do. Just automate as many things as you can automate
hmm,
without turning it into a truly like hard transactional type of experience.
mhm,
Totally. Yeah, have your systems and processes set in place to be able to just make it smooth, and like it's what you do in your everyday, and you're just doing
mhm,
the same things. And I've noticed, even like in $1 million homes, in $300,000 condos or whatever, my systems and processes are the same,
hmm,
whether you're a high end or, a starter home.
mhm,
And I absolutely, my systems and processes are set in place so that it just is seamless, and all of my people get the same treatment all the way through from start to finish, A to Z.
mhm.
Yeah, I got a really interesting text from a past client the other day, and it was a photo of a really incredible like gift package, and they were like, "You're so amazing and sweet for thinking of us in this way. Thank you so much." And I was really intentional when I set that up originally, but
Yeah.
since then I've completely even forgot that that system is
Hmm.
still going. So when I was like, "Oh, you're so welcome," I had no idea what
Yeah.
was sent. I
Yeah.
had no idea it was going. I've this
Yeah.
client, I sold them a house, yeah, 5 or 6 years ago when I was
Mhm.
really heavily in transactions. So, but that's just one of those things,
Yeah.
right? There's a workflow, an automated workflow that
Hmm.
happens, and it was triggered, and it went and sent a
Wow.
great gift to my client,
Mhm.
my past client, and then they reached out to me right away. And now all of a sudden I'm top of mind, and I didn't have to think
Yeah.
about it, right? And I just thought
Love
that was so
that.
unique. I was like, oh man, you gotta love that.
You're
Then
like,
I was
I
like, oh, how much
Referrals
should I spend
roll
on that
in.
present?
yeah, you're like, "I
Yeah.
love the chocolates." They're like, "No, there weren't chocolates in this one." You're like, "Oh, sorry."
Exactly.
Oh,
They're like, "No, wait, this one was a Rolex." And
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, wait,
Oh.
what? No."
Oh,
That's
well,
a nice
That
happy
wasn't
day for
supposed to go to
you're
work.
you.
hired, Trey. So
Yeah.
what's one thing that you're most excited about going into this next year?
I think it's gonna be a big year for real estate as a whole. I think that right now interest rates are holding, which is a really good thing. Of course, if they drop, it's gonna be an even better
Mhm.
thing. But then we're sort of asking for like this rat race again, right? Interest rates lower, everybody floods the market. I don't know about any of the other markets out there, but I know very
Mhm.
specifically in Denver, like the moment interest rates drop another half a
Mhm.
percent or even a percent, um, the market's going to go crazy again. We're going to have people
Mhm.
coming back to the table with cash offers. We're going to have people waiving
Multiple
appraisals and outbidding
offers.
people by a hundred thousand
Mhm.
dollars. And like, wow, that's a fun environment to some extent. It's really not. Like, it's an environment where it's really hard to represent your clients well when you're like, well, there's 5 other offers and they're at 100K over ask and waiving appraisals and inspections. So you have no protection, right? If you're the listing agent, on the other hand, you're like, hey, we got 5 offers and they've pretty much taken all the risk. So
Yeah.
which one do you want to go with? Like
Yeah.
it's such a different experience on both sides. But I just really think that this year is going to be a nice year for the housing market. And I'm really hopeful that we see a really good shift for the better as we start going into the next years. I know everybody's talking like, oh, is there a market crash? But I just don't see that happening. I don't see the numbers pointing anywhere near that direction. And I'm thinking we're on our way up.
I'm with you.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see you in a couple months at Envision.
I'm so excited.
And we're happy that you're not at Inman, so we're not really missing out on anything.
Yes. I could not go this time, unfortunately, but
Mm.
definitely missing all the great people who are there.
I know. Okay, well, have a great day. And if anybody wants to connect with you, what's the best place that they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, happy to give out my email. LinkedIn is probably the best place. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I like to try to post as often as I can, and it's super easy to find me there.
Okay, awesome. Have a great day,
Thank
Trey.
you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.